The dog is man's best friend, except when he's not. First up on today's show, how to avoid getting bitten by man's best friend.
Are they staring, giving you a sideways glance? It's called a whale eye, where they're looking...
A whale eye?
Yeah, where they're looking sideways at you and kind of going, what are you going to do? I don't know about you.
Oh, I know that look.
Yeah.
This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine. 2 topics coming up on today's show. Later in the program, I'll serve up some tips on feeding birds in the backyard. If you're having great success already, you can skip that part of the show. But if you're doing it all wrong, stand by. First, though, there's an interesting program coming up at Brewer Public Library on Saturday, January 28th. Diane Cunningham will teach you, or especially younger kids, what to do if they get into a tricky situation with a dog. It's a dog bite prevention workshop, and it's only 3 weeks away, which is well beyond my limited attention span. So I went to visit Diane and Holden at Paws Down Training, and we'll get the secrets right now. Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine is brought to you by Hammond Lumber, Napa Auto Parts, and EBS. Without further ado, let's find out how to get through the year unbitten. Welcome, Diane Cunningham.
Thank you for having me, Bob.
Paws Down Training is what you operate. What is that?
It's a dog training service. We teach group classes, do private sessions for behavioral, and do seminars on canine body language and communicating with dogs to understand what they're saying to us and what we're saying to them.
That's what got my attention. I was looking for things to talk about during January because it's kind of a slow month. And I saw online somewhere that you were doing a workshop at the Brewer Public Library on basically how to avoid getting bitten by a dog.
It's a bite prevention workshop. It is geared to all ages. Part of it will definitely be geared to children because the smaller ones really don't know what to do and how to understand it, so we simplify it. Basically what we'll do is we'll teach people what body language is, and that dogs already know body language. They're already aware of it. They read us all the time. And we don't always understand what they're saying to us, and this workshop will help people understand what the dogs are saying to us.
Is this to coach people how to avoid getting bitten by their own dog or somebody else's dog, or just dogs in general?
Dogs in general.
Okay. So why do dogs bite?
Most of the time it's out of fear. They feel trapped. They get into either cornered and they get into a fight or flight mode. And if they can't flight, they're going to bite. Some dogs are so gentle that they would never bite. They would go into a cowering mode and just hunker down and be afraid. But some will feel that they have to protect themselves and defend themselves and go into that.
And a lot of dogs will just expose their belly and say, "Please rub me."
I don't meet a lot of those dogs.
That's great, because if you're dealing with it, it's already a problem. Is that right? When I think about it, it seems like there's 2 reasons a dog would bite, as you point out, because they're scared or very defensive. And then there are some dogs that would be just very aggressive. Maybe you violated their territory. Maybe they're just in a bad mood. Does it break down like that, aggressive versus defensive dogs?
What we deal with a lot of reactive dogs. They're reacting to something, and hopefully they don't bring it to that next level of a bite. And a lot of it is territorial. You're in their space, or you're coming to their home. Again, we expect a lot out of a dog. When a person walks up to a dog, they go with opened arms. And what did we just do when we opened our arms? We made ourselves larger. And we're coming at them, we're taller, and then we're going to bend over them to pat them. Would you accept that from a stranger coming up to you?
I wouldn't even accept it from a family member.
So it can be pretty intimidated, and the dog gets scared. And typically, if they're well trained and have a good relationship with their owner and the owner's there, they'll look to their owner for what to do. And the owner will tell them it's either okay, go say hi, or they'll ask the dog to move away. If the owner knows. We have run across a lot of owners don't know what their dog is doing or saying, and that the dog is actually asking them for help. And when they don't get that help, they make their own decision, which isn't always the best one. They make a poor decision.
Mm-hmm. So let's say I'm a meter reader. The owner is not there, but the dog is. And I'm walking basically up the sidewalk and in up to the side of the house to read the meter or drop some mail or something. And there's the dog. Now what?
Well, most service people have some sort of training in that.
Or a bad experience.
I'll learn from experience, yes. You want to look for signs for a dog when you're approaching a house. You know, is there a leash outside, the toys, droppings, whatever would indicate that there might be a dog present. If there is one, you don't want to approach it head on, straight on. Side two, make your body smaller if you can. You just kind of pull in your arms. The worst thing we can do, and we all do it, it's human instinct, is we stop, we freeze, and we stare. In a dog's world, that's a challenge because we stopped. Our body just got tighter. When our body gets tighter, it gets larger, and then we're staring. We're staring because we're like, "Oh no, are they going to do something?"
Really?
And the dog's like, "They're staring at me. Uh-oh, they're going to challenge me." And then you get the reaction of, I feel I have to defend myself.
Is part of that training, you think, for a meter reader, for instance, bringing doggy treats in your pocket, or is that a bad idea?
That works with most dogs. Most dogs are food motivated. It can be a bad idea how it's tossed to the dog. If you do an overhand throw, again, that's a threatening gesture because you just raised your arm higher and it looks like you're going to hit. An under toss would be less threatening.
So let's go over the basics. How do you read a dog?
Yeah, that's basic.
Well, we are talking body language, obviously. The dog is giving you all kinds of clues. Well, let me back up a second. I'll do the big reveal here. I'm actually in the Maine legislature, so I have to go around campaigning every other summer. And I walk into thousands of yards. And everybody in my district, I mean everybody, has a dog. If they don't have one, they go next door and borrow the neighbors.
You're always meeting dogs.
Yeah. I mean, if I ring a doorbell and it doesn't ring and a dog doesn't bark, well, then the doorbell's broken. But everybody's got a dog. And so I meet so many dogs, and I feel like I can read them.
And you probably can.
Yeah.
Some people are natural at reading dogs when others are not. People haven't got a clue. A famous saying will be, well, the dog was wagging his tail and it bit me.
Yeah, right.
Well, a dog with a really high alert tail, I mean, standing right up, and it's going fast, that tail is saying it's going to bite. The faster it's going, the more likely you're going to get bitten.
It's like a rattlesnake tail.
Yeah. Along with that, though, you have to know the normal carry of that dog's tail. Some dogs' tails do ride high, so there's more than just one thing. You have to look at the whole dog. Is the body tight? Is it relaxed? Is the mouth open and relaxed, or is it closed? Tight fist or really, really tight mouth. Are they staring, giving you a sideways glance? It's called a whale eye. Where they're looking...
A whale eye?
Yeah, where they're looking sideways at you and kind of going, what are you going to do? I don't know about you.
Oh, I know that look.
Yeah. Again, that's when an owner or whoever's handling the dog comes in handy because they can tell the dog it's all right, don't worry about it. So there are signs, their hackles up. The hackles are making them larger. Again, they're trying to look bigger now to defend themselves.
Yeah. If I see a dog with hackles up, I'm coming back later.
Yeah.
Or not coming back.
And the growl, we want a dog to growl. We want him to bark. We want him to warn us. And most dogs will do that. They'll warn us rather than bite. Most dogs don't want to bite.
Yeah.
There are a few out there that get the adrenaline rush who actually learn to enjoy it. Those are frequent biters, and they've learned to like the rush of it.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, once they bite a politician, it takes all day to get the taste out of their mouth. So they learn a lesson that way. And actually, it's true. I've been out 6 times visiting all of my neighbors over like 5 different towns. And over those 6 times, I've been nipped 4 times. So,
what you can do is, again, not get that tight body, not stare, kind of turn your body side to the dog. That's telling them that you're not a threat. Where you stay head on, that's more challenging. So, kind of put yourself in the situation. How would you present yourself if you were going to have a fight with another guy?
Right, yeah.
Okay. Those are the moves you don't want to do with a dog.
I can remember years ago in Bradford, I pulled into what was basically a farmyard. And 2 German Shepherds came off the porch, and they just went right around the car and right over to my window. And but they weren't, and they were barking, and they looked semi-aggressive, but also curious. And so I did open the door and started making friends. And the owner came out and said, "Boy, you're brave." But there was something about their body language that said, yeah, they're being protective of their territory. They're curious to know who the intruder is, but they don't really want to attack.
Yeah, if they were probably loose and just running around.
Yeah, the one that is looking for a way into that car so he can tear your heart out, that's the one I worry about.
Yeah, if they were going to attack, they probably would have stayed right at your door and done a stiffer stance and stood there barking at you with a stiff body.
Yeah. My guest is Diane Cunningham. She operates Paws Down Training, and one of the things she does is teach people how to not get bitten by dogs. She does this especially for kids. In fact, she teaches kids to be a tree. Well, that's on the way. And up next, how much does that dog's barking matter? Later in the show, backyard bird feeding. You might be doing it all wrong. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. It's Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. Diane Cunningham is a dog trainer. She operates Paws Down Training, and she works with individuals and groups, and she teaches kids how to avoid getting bitten. Well, some adults need that too. Diane is doing a workshop at Brewer Public Library in 3 weeks, but we're getting the scoop right now. The only difference is we're not actually doing it with the dogs at the moment. She does connect dogs and kids in the workshop. How much does the barking matter when you're trying to read the dog? If it's a yip, 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 or yap, yap, or if they're silent, or does it depend on the dog?
It depends on the dog. But like us, it has a tone to it. You know, a happy, hey, how you doing, bark? Or I don't know about you type bark.
Yeah.
So you can tell by the tone.
Mm-hmm. But a growl's always a growl. There's no friendly growl. Is there a friendly growl?
There can be. That's a dog with mixed feelings. They're not sure if they, maybe I'll like you. Oh, all right. So it is not necessarily a friendly growl per se, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're a nasty dog either. They're just, all right, I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And if it's a nice slow growl and then you show them a cookie and their attitude changes, things are going to go better from there.
Hopefully.
All right. Well, now, how does a dog read you? And we talked about going in too big and too high and all that, but dogs watch you like a hawk. Dogs have grown up with humans for the last 10,000 years, so they read us like a book. What is it they're reading?
Again, our body language, our gestures, how our hands are moving. Are you hanging over them? Are you coming straight on? Are you going sideways? What kind of look are you giving them? You know, are we putting our arms to our hips, which again make us larger? But they can read body language really fast.
Yeah.
You know, we do the slightest move to like call your dog to come. You make that first motion, and the dog's already coming at you if they're well trained, and you haven't had a chance to say anything because they recognize that first signal of your body.
I find a lot of things like, when I'm going to visit some of my constituents just to say hi, and I encounter a lot of dogs, I confuse dogs a lot because they give me the warning signs, they give me the barks. They're not terribly aggressive, but they're being territorially defensive, and I walk up onto their porch anyway and go ring the doorbell, and the dog is clearly thinking, why didn't you take my warning? What's wrong with you? Is that normal, or am I stupid?
Well, I would start looking for the owner. Yeah. So they have control of their dog.
Yeah.
I'm not going to walk up to a dog that's barking at me.
And now we understand why I've been nipped 4 times. There are circumstances where the dog is going to be more aggressive than others or more defensive. They have their territories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how stupid is it to reach into a car window and pat a dog?
That is never, ever, ever a good idea.
Yeah.
I've had people do that to me when I've had dogs in the car, and I'm like, oh my God.
Talk about invading space.
Yeah, and the dog's trapped.
Mm-hmm.
That's that case of being cornered. They can't get away. You know, this hand's coming in the car at them, and they can't get away from it. They already feel trapped.
Yeah, and it's their territory, and they're protective of their territory sometimes.
Yeah, and again, some dogs are fine with that. In my case, the dog was fine. She was friendly. Yeah. She just, oh, okay. Mom says it's okay to say hi to you, but why are you sticking your hand in the car?
What other territories does it matter to a dog? And I'm thinking about in the home or in a yard. Are they going to act differently in those locations than they would if they're being walked in the park?
It depends how often they walked in a park. Dogs don't know property lines like we do. If they're somewhere frequently, they consider that their space.
Oh, so they could even consider a park their space.
Yeah, if they're there all the time. Yeah.
Great.
Again, not all dogs are nasty. I mean, there are a few that are nasty, and they're going to be lifetime biters or caution dogs. And usually those owners take precautions so the dog doesn't do anything.
Yeah, because the owner usually knows, always knows, or is really surprised. What's the proportion?
The first time they're probably really surprised. But usually they know. Yeah.
They know they got a biter.
Right.
There are probably a lot of dogs that are biters or aggressive, but really personable with family members. They're bonded with the family. They're part of the pack.
Yes.
So they're, a dog you might have doubts about outside of the family is going to be perfectly safe at home.
Yes, some are.
Yeah.
Some do bite their owners too.
Only once.
Depends on the owner. Some people put up with it, and I don't know.
Okay.
But they love their dog. They don't understand what the dog's doing, and if they come to me, I can usually help them with that. I have to honestly say that I don't take outward aggressionly dogs. I don't take those dogs on because I usually can't help them because they've already established that pattern, and it's just not something I feel I can help with. I work with the more of the reactive dogs, the dogs that have the potential to become biters, but we work to turn that around before that happens, to help people understand what to do to help their dogs succeed rather than have failure.
What would you do to convince a dog that biting's a bad idea?
You teach them how to be calm. We start teaching them to use their calming signals.
So you're really training the owner.
You train the owner to see what their dog is telling them, and then teaching them to redirect the dog to use signals to calm down and to be okay in situations. And a calming signal is basically a look away, a walk away. For a dog, sniffing. If you're coming up, you may have had that happen as you approach somewhere. You're walking up and the dog's kind of alerting, but you're not heeding to it, and the dog starts sniffing the ground. They're saying, okay, I really don't want to cause trouble. I'm just going to sniff over here. Okay? So they're trying to calm themselves down and you down.
Yeah.
So
Diane Cunningham is a dog trainer who operates Paws Down Training in Holden. Besides helping dog owners teach their dogs to behave themselves, she also works with groups, and she even offers up her wisdom as a free public service. She'll be doing that at Brewer Public Library on Saturday morning, January 28th from 10 to 11. That'll be free, and it'll be especially valuable for kids. As for you, what is your body language telling the dog? Maybe your language says, bite me. Well, that's next. And on the way later, backyard bird feeding tips. It's one of the most popular pastimes in America, and you might be doing it all wrong. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine, Saturday mornings at 9, Sunday mornings at 8 on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. There are over 83 million dogs in this country. Some are even trained for adventures that we talk about on this show, like hunting and retrieving. Almost half of all households have a dog. Over 4.5 million dog bites occur every year. Half of those are children. Most are preventable. And that's what Diane Cunningham teaches. Your own body language can inspire a dog to bite or relax. So, Diane, what should a dog look for in your body language behavior?
Just the relaxed, loose body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Don't scare.
A friendly face. They understand smiles. They understand frowns. They understand the, oh my God.
If you were to, all right, now I'm way out on a limb. If you were looking to convince a dog you were friendly, you don't want to tower over it, so you would normally tend to get low if you're trying to do that.
Yeah, I don't recommend that.
Now
either.
you're not at the biting level, huh?
No.
Okay.
No. I don't know if you've ever seen the video of a police dog that was being interviewed by a person.
No.
We use that in one of our body language seminars. The dog is well trained, and the interviewer goes to say hi to the dog. The handler didn't catch the dog saying to the handler, "What do I do? What do you want me to do?" Looked up for advice more than once. The interviewer grabbed the dog on both sides of the head and went low. Got bit in the face.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So going low is not a good idea. Mm-hmm. Again, that side to approach. Hey, how you doing? Let them do the hand sniff. Mm-hmm. Let them check out your hand. Mm-hmm. And it's best to have a dog come to you rather than you go to a dog. Yeah. That's probably the best advice you can have. Mm-hmm. You don't approach a dog you don't know.
Yeah.
Let them come say hi to you. If they're coming over wiggling their body and the whole butt's wiggling, they're going to be friendly. They're coming over to say hi. There are the rare and few dogs that will lure you to say hi that are biters, but they're rare and
I remember pulling into a driveway once, and there was this big sign on the garage that said, "Beware of dog." And in this open garage bay, there is a white German Shepherd, I think. It looks at me drive in, stands up, stretches, yawns, and starts to come my way. And I'm thinking, this dog's not dangerous. So I walked up on the porch, gave him a cookie. We bonded.
Yeah. And they may post that just simply because of insurance.
I found out later it was because they had a previous dog. There was a problem.
So
okay.
It
was an old sign.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a dog that just told me right from the get-go, oh, company.
Yeah. If he was stretching and yawning, he's like, oh, okay, whatever.
So let's say that you do want to greet a dog close enough to maybe pat it, stroke its chin, whatever. What's the procedure you follow to make sure that the dog is comfortable with you approaching and greeting the dog?
Okay. So again, with the approach, rather than first thing we want to do is pat their heads. Mm-hmm. Okay. Again, that's a more of an aggressive approach. We're going over the head. Oh, yeah. We're reaching over. You best reach under and go under the chin. Mm-hmm. That's non-threatening. Yeah. I learned that one when I was like 5. That's the first thing I ever heard about handling a dog is don't pat the top of the head first. Yeah, reach under. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you're around dogs your whole life, you tend to just do those things without thinking about it. You might not consciously be aware that you're reading the dog and understanding the dog because you just do it. It's natural. Yeah. Another one I remember from my youth, and this was obviously a long time ago now, when you're letting the dog sniff your hand, put it in a fist rather than a flat-out hand because it's harder to bite. Is that true? Yeah. Stupid. Hey, not everything I learned when I was 5 was good. Well, again, the fist, though. Yeah. What's a fist? It's tight. Mm-hmm. It can be a threatening gesture, in my opinion. So the loose, relaxed hand is, in my opinion, is a better approach. So what's a list of things? You have to actually have a list of things that you tell people, don't do these. Again, it's all about the approach. It's all about the body language. Look for signs of a dog. If you're going up to a strange house for whatever reason, only politicians would do that. And they're not that bright to begin with. Or delivery people. Otherwise, why are you going up to a strange house? If you're acting friendly, typically most dogs are friendly. It's not going to be an issue. There are those few that aren't. Mm-hmm. How does breed of dog matter? Are there some dogs where you just say to yourself, uh-oh, or... Yes and no. Some dogs have gotten a bad rap, like pit bulls. Right. There's some lovely pit bulls. They're so sweet. They're just sweethearts. And there are some other pit bulls that aren't. There are some lovely Goldens. There are some Goldens that aren't. So it's really a fallacy. It's all about breeding, upbringing. Breeding can be a huge factor. A dog can actually be bred and be aggressive because of genes.
Right.
Or early on, they learned it from mom or dad, the Suradam that are in the home. You know, people coming. The puppies learn that at an early age. And if that's imprinted in them within that birth to 6 weeks, they have it for life.
Oh, great.
It's considered imprinting.
Yeah.
So it's important that when you look for a dog, that you meet the Suradam. Are they friendly, outgoing? Are they happy to see people? Are the puppies treated well by the dam, the mother? You know, is she good to her puppies, or is she nippy at them because she's been bred too much? Well, her being nippy at them teaches them not to like other dogs. Are they fed in a bigger, with more feeding bowls, or a trough type feeding where they have plenty of space, or are they all eating out of one small bowl and kind of fighting for space? Fighting for space teaches food aggression. So if we can catch those puppies at that early age and do things right, quote unquote, then we can help create confident, positive puppies to make a decent adult dog.
Yeah. Are there dogs or breeds that want to be the alpha male? You know, you're basically in a family, you're in almost a pack situation, and the people are usually the alphas. But there are some dogs, I would think, that aren't quite sure who's number one and try to assert themselves.
There are, and that's when they don't have the leadership they need. The household isn't taking control of the situation, so the dog feels it has to. And again, it makes bad decisions or poor decisions because it's not getting the guidance it needs.
Yeah. Diane Cunningham of Paws Down Training in Holden is teaching us how to get through 2017 without a dog bite. Most of what we've talked about so far involves dogs in the home or the car or maybe a park. But what about those rare occasions when a dog has gotten off its chain or out of a fenced yard and is coming down the same street you're strolling on? A strange dog, maybe looking for trouble. Well, that's next, and then backyard bird feeding tips. By some accounts, it's the second most popular hobby in America, only behind gardening. 55 million Americans do it, and many of them are doing it all wrong. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. I was going over the calendar of winter events in the area, and one particular event got my attention. Diane Cunningham of Paws Down Training in Holden is offering a free dog prevention workshop on Saturday, January 28th from 10 to 11 at Brewer Public Library. Now, I'm aware of plenty of dog training programs and classes in the area, but I don't remember ever seeing a people training program on how to avoid getting bitten. So this part of the show is taking place in Diane's office in Holden because, frankly, I wasn't going to wait another 3 weeks to find out. Diane is laying it all out for me right now. Now, when it comes to avoiding being bitten by a dog, there's a number of scenarios, and most of them are avoidable. That is, be careful of a dog in its own house. Don't reach into a car window. Don't go up in the porch if the dog is chained right there and barking at you. All that stuff. But now you're, let's see, walking down the road and a dog without its owner is coming your way and he looks aggressive. How do you handle that?
Well, we teach kids be a tree. Plant your roots, fold in your limbs, meaning fold your arms to your body and look away. Again, you're not making that eye contact. You go, no, I'm not just going to ignore you. And smaller kids will even say, do a slight a little song that they know, a little dilly. Because the worst thing they can do is run, flail their arms, and scream.
Oh, yeah.
Because that brings out the prey drive.
Yeah.
And then the dog will chase them.
So you'll be at Brewer Public Library conducting a workshop on how to avoid being bitten. It's for all ages, but kids would especially benefit from this. So how's this going to go?
Basically, it's talking about the body language, what to look for in the body of the dog, how to hold our own bodies when seeing a dog that we don't know. And then we'll do an interactive session where we'll have a couple of dogs there and teach the kids how to be a tree where they plant their roots, fold in their limbs, and look away. And so they'll be able to see how the dog reacts when that happens. And typically the dogs will ignore them and move on to whoever's not doing that. We did that in at a school. There were about 45 kids, and I had 2 of my dogs with me. So we had the kids greeting the dogs. They were patting them, and then I said, "Okay, everybody be a tree." And the kids went into the tree mode, and one of the dogs kept trying to get attention, but slowly was losing speed and kind of walking around. And there was a teacher sitting on the floor grading papers. Well, she got loved to death. And the dog ignored all the other kids.
Oh, that's funny, because obviously he was looking for attention.
Right.
Okay. When I think about being a tree to a dog, I know what dogs do to trees. So I don't think I like that analogy. But, are you bringing dogs with you for this?
Yes.
These are stunt dogs, especially
a couple of my dogs.
Okay.
Yes, they have done the program with me before. Yes.
Are they trained to show certain signs that kids are supposed to watch for? You've got them doing that kind of trick, or are they just friendly?
They're typically friendly.
Yeah.
If the dog is backing up, again, we'll communicate what the dog is telling the person, because a lot of the kids go to reach high to pat, and one of the dogs doesn't care for that, and the dog will back up. So we'll explain why the dog's backing up, why it doesn't want to say hi, and how to properly greet the dog. So we get to teach with practicality.
Right, yeah. So you didn't train the dog to do this. It just happens that's the trait, and you want people to look at that.
Yes, and that particular dog. And one's a Shiloh Shepherd, and she's a little on the shyer side. She's friendly, and she would run before she would hurt anybody, or cower before she would hurt anybody. So she'll back up a little bit with strangers, where the other one's a golden chow mix, and she'll be like, hey, how you doing? Say hi. And she's a dog that will bark to say hi. And even though I've tried to train that out of her, it keeps getting reinforced because people go up and say hi.
So paws down training, that's what you are.
Yes.
You offer these services for paying clients.
Yes.
But you also do these workshops. I'm guessing this isn't the only one that's on your annual calendar. How often around town are people going to see you?
The bite prevention at the Brewer Library we've done probably a year or 2 ago, and there's no cost to that. It is
free.
Yes, but a community service.
Yeah, right.
It's for community service. I've done it for fire departments as a community service. So we try to do that as a community thing. We hold some here where it is a class setting. We've done it for Ellsworth Adult Ed, where they pay the instructor to do it here. But we include some first aid in that too, and it becomes a whole. It's more than just canine body language.
Yeah, and if things go really wrong, there's a lot of first aid. Now, where are you located? Explain to me, explain to the audience really, how people can get a hold of you to investigate these services a little more.
Okay. I do have a website, pawsdowntrainingservice.com, and I am located at 4 Dogs, F-O-R, Dogs on Route 1A in Holden. Also a Facebook page.
So if somebody's got a dog that maybe needs a little bit of assistance in settling down, being friendlier, being a little more socialized with people, with visitors, you'd be a person to talk to.
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent.
And sometimes it isn't, we've been talking more about aggression and bite here, but sometimes the problem is the dog's too friendly.
Yeah.
They're jumping all over people,
Yeah.
which creates scratches and things that in today's world cause a liability.
Right, yeah.
Some of the dogs that like to use their mouth, the retrievers, they might grab somebody's hand. They're not doing it to bite, but they're doing it to nibble and say hi. Or the love nibbles on the cheeks. And basically those dogs, we try to teach some self-control so they can say a proper hi that's acceptable by society.
Yep, and we're talking a lot about dogs biting and that kind of aggressiveness. But playful dogs love to jump.
Yes.
Love to climb up on you. I'm assuming you do training to discourage that too.
That's the self-control.
Yeah.
We teach the dogs some self-control. They still get what they want. They want the greeting. They want to say hi, but they have to do it in a manner that isn't, hurtful to a person.
Right.
And part of that be a tree is for excitable dogs too. It isn't just for aggressive dogs. It's for a dog that you don't want all over you, basically.
How many owners have I encountered in my lifetime where they keep telling the dog, don't jump, and the dog just is too enthusiastic, can't wait to get up and lick my face.
Yeah, they're just all excited. Somebody's here, somebody's here.
Company.
Yeah.
Yippee. Yeah. Well, Diane Cunningham, Paws Down Training, 251 Main Road in Holden. Thanks for being on Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine.
Thank you for having me, Bob.
Diane is going to be doing a free workshop at Brewer Public Library on Saturday, January 28th from 10 to 11, and she's bringing dogs. You bring kids, or just bring yourself. Up next, backyard bird feeding. It's one of the most popular hobbies in America. I get asked about it a lot, and there are some basic tips that can make this go a lot better. Stand by. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine, and the station is Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. Welcome back to Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. Maine has a lot of wildlife, and that includes a lot of birds. A lot of Mainers like to see that wildlife in their own backyards, and bird feeding is a huge hobby in the state. As a bird expert, I get asked for advice a lot, and it does get confusing. There are so many different kinds of feeders and feed. There are a bunch of problems that can happen. You may not get birds you want, and you may get birds you don't want. You might get other pests. Let's go outside and talk about this. Not too close. There are a bunch of finches at the feeder right now, and they'll stay put if we don't get any closer. Let's start with the basics. First, birds. You've got a handful of normal birds that come to feeders a lot. Chickadees are everywhere. Nuthatches come to feeders, and there are two kinds of those, red-breasted nuthatches and white-breasted. If you have a lot of conifers, you've got red-breasted nuthatches. If you have a lot of maples and oaks, maybe beeches, you've got white-breasted nuthatches. If you have an even mix of hardwoods and softwoods, you might have both. I do. In more urban and suburban areas, you might have a tufted titmouse or two coming to the feeder. Then there's a second batch of birds. These are the small finches. There are three of them. American goldfinches, you probably know those pretty well. Pine siskins, which breeds in Maine and then comes down often in the fall and winter. And sometimes common redpolls. They come down from the Arctic every 2 or 3 years. That's not an every year thing. There are slightly larger finches, house finches and purple finches. They're both around here most of the time. House finches are more suburban. And you might even get some big finches like evening grosbeaks. Then there's a third bunch of birds that prefer to stay on the ground under the feeder. Sparrows and juncos mostly. Mourning doves are probably down there. You might get the big showy ones like cardinals and blue jays. And if you're in the city, you might get birds that people may think are pests like pigeons, starlings, and house sparrows. That's about it in winter. Second, feeders, the basics. For seed containers, there are hanging feeders that small birds can perch on, and there are platform feeders that larger birds like cardinals prefer. Some hanging feeders have cages or baffles trying to keep the squirrels off. Good luck with that. There are suet feeders and hummingbird feeders too. And the third basic, food. If you can only choose one, choose black oil sunflower seeds. It's a universal favorite. All the birds love it. This seed has a good meat-to-shell ratio with a higher fat content, so it's more nutritious, and it's also easier for the smaller birds to eat. Striped sunflower seeds are larger. They have thicker seed coats. These may be easier for jays and cardinals to eat, but since they also eat black oil sunflower seeds, why bother? Striped sunflower seeds are a popular addition to a lot of seed mixes, too. But nuthatches are notorious for picking seeds out of the feeder and dropping the ones they think are too big, wasting them. There are some circumstances where seed mixes are okay, especially on platform feeders. Birds can pick up the seeds they want, ignoring the ones they don't. Meanwhile, another species can clean up the ignored seeds when it's their turn. Many seed blends are designed to attract a wide variety of birds. In theory, that sounds good. In practice, you don't have a wide variety of birds. You have a select group of chickadees, nuthatches, goldfinches, and other common Maine birds. Commercial mixes often contain seeds that appeal to southern and western birds. Maine birds will frequently pick the sunflower seeds out of the mix and drop the rest on the ground. Personally, I have a mix of feeders, but each one is filled with only one seed type. My second feeder choice is Niger. Niger resembles North American thistle, but they're not actually related. It's imported from Asia and Africa, which explains why it's kind of pricey. Still, I put out multiple feeders. These feeders can go a long time with no birds at all, and then suddenly they're alive with small finches. Niger is favored by American goldfinches, pine siskins, and common redpolls. The flocks wander around and often arrive in big numbers, swarming the feeders like they're doing right now. Feeders on a porch can be messy. Some folks have good luck using hulled sunflower seeds, but these are expensive and they don't store as long. Some homeowners get annoyed by too many pigeons and house sparrows. For them, safflower seeds might discourage the pest while attracting cardinals and larger finches. Safflower resembles sunflower seeds, but they're really less preferred by most birds. I usually have at least one suet feeder up. I have a lot of woodpeckers in the neighborhood, and my house is a regular stop in their rounds. Mostly I get the hairy and the downy woodpeckers. It's possible to get others. The blue jays, nuthatches, and chickadees also grab a bite from the suet feeder regularly. Feeders should be cleaned regularly to avoid problems. Because feeders concentrate a lot of birds all pooping, they can spread disease. Hummingbird feeders can suffer from mold. The sugar can ferment. Niger gold's moldy at the bottom of the feeder, especially if it's exposed to moisture. I have made every bird feeding mistake there ever was. Here's my top 10 list. Number 10, placing feeders too far from cover and trees. Chickadees, titmice, and nuthatchers like to perch on safe branches, scan for danger, and then they'll dash in for a seed. Then they retreat to safety before eating. If there's none of that safety around, they're not likely to come on in. Feeders that are placed too far from security can be ignored. Now, finches, on the other hand, require a lot less cover. American goldfinches, pine siskins, common redpolls, they will mob an exposed feeder, even if it's in the middle of the yard, far from everything. They're relying on their numbers to spot approaching danger. Number 9, placing feeders an improper distance from windows. If you find dead birds under your window, try moving the feeders closer to the house. Yeah, closer. It seems counterintuitive, but when feeders are close to the window, birds may not build up enough speed to injure themselves. Streamers and hawk silhouettes in windows can work a little, I'm told. And you can try moving the feeders farther away, but I find closer is better. Number 8, placing feeders near shrubs and plants where cats can hide. Outdoor cats kill billions of birds a year. Don't help them. Number 7, cleaning feeders too infrequently. Under moist, warm conditions, seed will rot, hummingbird food ferments, mold develops, and of course there's all that spreading poop. Number 6, storing seed improperly. Seed's got to be kept cool and dry. I stockpile bulk seed in metal garbage cans in my garage that's impervious to rodents. On one warm day about 3 years ago, I opened the lid and discovered that $50 worth of Niger had fermented in the August heat and humidity. Ugh. Number 5, offering too little food variety. Many desirable birds can be attracted to the backyard with the right mix of food offerings. Goldfinches, siskins, and redpolls relish Niger, as I said. Woodpeckers like the suet. Orioles like oranges. Hummingbirds like nectar. Bluebirds actually gobble down mealworms, and they're commercially available at local stores. A wide range of feeds and feeders will customize your backyard to attract more local species. Know what's in your neighborhood. If you don't have orioles or cardinals in the neighborhood, don't try for them. They're not coming. Number 4, offering too much food variety. Many undesirable birds and other pests are attracted to the backyard with the wrong mix of food offerings. Hordes of unwanted pigeons and house sparrows can crowd out other songbirds when there's too much millet or hard seed in the mix. Platform feeders are great for cardinals, but they also tempt excess doves, jays, and squirrels. If there are no cardinals in the area, why invite trouble? Number 3, making life too easy for ants and bees. You know, I like my hummingbird feeders right up until the moment the ants and yellowjackets discover them. Ant and bee guards are cheap and effective, and this is an easily preventable pest problem. Number 2, making life too easy for bears and raccoons. There are times in spring and autumn when it may be wise to bring the feeders indoors, at least at night. I once dealt with raccoons by using a live trap, and that seemed like a good idea up until I caught a skunk. I dealt with squirrels by putting feeders on poles and protecting them with baffles. And then one night a bear that had just emerged from hibernation tore them all to pieces. There are some squirrel-proof feeders on the market. Not all of them really work all that well, but my favorite is a Brome Squirrel Buster Plus. B-R-O-M-E, Brome Squirrel Buster Plus. Love that one. It works. There's a droll Yankee flipper that also works. That's battery-powered, and it spins by the weight of the squirrel and throws them off. They're very funny, but they're also over $100. The number one most common mistake, making life too easy for squirrels. Yeah, folks enjoy the squirrels sometimes. They may even put out peanuts and other foods that lure the squirrels away from the feeders. I've tried that. And actually, it almost kind of works. With baffles and special feeders, I can keep most of the bird seed, much of the time reserved for just the birds. Squirrels can have anything that falls on the ground. That's up to them. And I can tolerate a few squirrels. But sometimes there are more squirrels on the porch than there are clowns at a Shriners parade. So make no mistake, that's war. There you have it. You are now prepared to bring Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine right into your own backyard. It'll give you something exciting to watch this weekend, since the New England Patriots aren't playing. Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine is brought to you by Hammond Lumber, Napa Auto Parts, and EBS. We'll return next Saturday morning at 9 and Sunday morning at 8. And remember, all shows are archived at 929theticket.com. This is Sports Radio 929 The Ticket.